What's good, Savages? Welcome to another episode of Blue Collar Sports. I'm Savage Paulson, and with me, as always, is the chef of sports talk, because he's always cooking up a hot take, Zach McGibbon. What's good, Zach?
If only I was as good at actually cooking, then that would really add up. But no, I'm doing great, man. Things are good. Excited to be talking to you here. All the things going on in the world of sports, so it's always a good time.
Just trying to get my camera fixed again. Happy birthday, by the way. I want to wish you a happy birthday. Please, I don't care. We're going to get this straightened out. We have a lot of things to talk about. You might want to... Oh, this is getting worse.
I was going to say, you're getting blurrier.
Like, wow, what's going on? All right, let's try to keep this. All right. Doesn't matter. You can look at me all blurry if you're watching this on YouTube.
If you're drunk, this is already
this is
the
all
experience.
good.
You're watching it, right?
If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, there's no problem. You can hear us really well. Only if you're watching this on YouTube right now. There are some blurry, and I'm not going to spend much time trying to fix it. It's all about the content here. A lot of things I want to talk about. A lot of things in the NFL, from the Brian Daboll firing to the Seahawks looking like Super Bowl contenders to the Patriots and Drake May, the MVP talk. We have the Bills WTF that I want to talk to you about. What the hell happened last weekend? A little bit of hockey. I want to get your takes on the young Macklin Celebrini. Or is it Celebrini or Celebrini?
Yep.
Celebrini?
Yep, Celebrini.
All right.
Yeah.
And we're going to preview the 112th Grey Cup as well and finish off with our thoughts on John Cena winning the Intercontinental Championship for the first time this past Monday. Let's start with the firing of New York Giants head coach Brian Daboll. November 10th, he got fired after a 2-8 start, was replaced by the interim coach, Mike Kafka. I'm a bit surprised that Mike McDaniels lasted longer than him. I thought Mike McDaniels would be the first head coach to be relieved of his duties. But no, it seems like Mike McDaniels is all right till the end of the season, according to what the Dolphins are saying. But Brian Daboll fired after a 2-8 start. I'm not surprised. I think it was kind of a shit show a little bit, with so many quarterbacks in that quarterback room to start the season, and Russell Wilson starting, and then Jackson Dart, and the injuries and all of that. I mean, there's a lot of factors here that led to him getting fired. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you if it's justified. I think we can both agree this is kind of justified. Shouldn't have been done earlier, maybe. I want to hear your thoughts, including the impact this has on young rookie quarterback Jackson Dart. If you really think about it, I mean, he's going to have 2 head coaches in his first season and probably a third one by the start of his second season in the NFL. So what's your thoughts on all this, and are the Giants in a better position going forward right now?
Well, I think this is an admission that the season is lost for the New York Giants, and it's time to start anew for them. I like what you said, not surprised that Daboll was let go. Considering everything that happened this past year, and I look back to, you could clearly tell he was a man that was trying to coach for his job all throughout the season. He just kept getting pelted with questions to be like, are you worried about your safety, your job safety? Like, not fun to be in as a head coach when you're facing that each and every week. So, I look at all of that. It is tough with young quarterbacks, right? Because you look at it historically. I go back to Alex Smith back in the day when he got drafted by the 49ers. Every year for the first 5-6 years of his career, he had a different head coach and a different offensive coordinator of some sort. He had either at least a different head coach or at least a different offensive coordinator. And when you're constantly changing like that, you don't have that sort of steady presence that's there so that you could get adjusted into the NFL. It makes it tough, because there was a time when Alex Smith was going to be considered a bust because he was not, delivering at that first overall pick status. Now, he was able to figure it out later. going to Andy Reid and playing for the Chiefs as well, playing his best seasons there. But for the first couple of years, that was really hindering his development. And you look at some of the, dysfunctional organizations, let's just say, like the Jets and the Browns, those sort of lower tier teams. I'm going to throw the Titans in there right now because they
Yeah.
just seem totally dysfunctional. They're just going through quarterbacks left and right, and they just can't seem to find that steady, consistent presence from the coaches that they're looking for. So this is something that the Giants are potentially going to get caught in because, like what you mentioned, no Daboll. And one of the things that Daboll was brought in for was he was somebody that helped develop Josh Allen when he was the offensive coordinator for the
Right.
Buffalo Bills. And there is that question of like, you bring in a Jackson Dart, do you want to have Daboll being involved with his development? And in the minds of the New York Giants, they said, no, this is not what we're going to do moving forward. Dart definitely has some talent. He has some potential. I think he needs some better receivers to work with other than the guy that just got injured, who's all of a sudden escaping me. He's from LSU, but he got injured throughout the year. And so I think he needs some more support. He's
Are
got
you talking
Cam
about
Scadaboo
Malik
now.
Neighbors?
Yes, Malik
Yeah,
Neighbors. That's
Malik
what I'm
Neighbor.
looking for.
Yeah, I mean that
Yeah,
kid's for
he's
real. Like it doesn't help
yeah,
that they have all these injuries with Scadaboo and Malik Neighbors. Number one wide receiver leaves for the rest of the season after what
yeah,
game 3, I think, or is
yep.
like early on. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and Scadaboo gone for the season as well. So
yeah,
it's going to be tough. At Dart, like it look. I just saw that Jameis Winston is going to be starting this Sunday, so
yeah.
Dart's not
Which I'm
ready to go
happy
for the
about.
Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
good for JMO,
concussed.
man.
He's concussed apparently, which
Hmm.
I was talking to my son about it early when we were at the gym, and he's like, "Yeah, I know exactly where it happened." I don't know if you remember you watched the game, but he suffered a big hit where the helmet flew off. I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure if I had to pick where it happened, it probably happened around that spot. But
Yeah,
yeah, out with the concussion. I'm happy that Winston will be starting over Russell Wilson. I think the Russell Wilson experiment is done in New York. They'll
yeah,
probably move on from him in the offseason. But I'm glad
yeah,
to see Jameis Winston there. There's definitely it's definitely going to be kind of a shit show going forward with an interim coach for the rest of the season. And like you, I agree. It's kind of like you're waving the white flag already, right? You're
yeah.
like, I know the players will never admit that. They'll be going out every game and playing their asses off every game
Right.
to try to win football games. And you never know, right? This might light up something in all these players. Like, look, we're not bums here. Like, we're
Yeah,
professional football players, and we got something to prove here. And if there's anybody that's going to light a fire in their asses, it's Jameis Winston. I mean, that guy brings the energy, positive. I mean, I love him. I love him. He'll throw 3 interception, but he might throw for 550 yards too. So
yeah.
you gotta take what you can get, right? But
He is your
yeah,
classic old school gunslinger quarterback where he's
yeah.
just going to throw it downfield and whoever is there is going to catch it. And if they don't, it's going to be picked off. Like
I,
that's the old school gunslinger mentality.
I might be wrong about this, but one of his last seasons with the Buccaneers, is it possible he threw 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, and over
Yep.
5,000 yards of pass?
Yes, it
That
was
was
unreal.
insane. Like,
It's the Jameis Winston experience, man. Like you get the
yeah,
highs and the lows with Jameis Winston, but you can't say he's not fun to watch. Like he certainly
yeah.
brings a different dynamic. I think he deserves some more opportunities personally, but I understand why. Like I remember after that season, like he announced he was getting LASIK eye surgery, and they're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's what he did without being able to see properly." Like, oh, he's gonna throw for 50 touchdowns and 6,000 yards.
He
Like,
didn't know if it was throwing to his teammates or the other team half the time. He's like, I'm just chucking it down the field. Hope someone catches that ball.
yeah, somebody's gonna
That's
be
great.
open.
But look, the Giants have kind of been dysfunction for a long time. I remember when they drafted Saquon Barkley, I thought it was going to be a big, big opportunity. And the Daniel Jones experiment did not work out in New York. Now we see Daniel Jones kind of thriving in Indianapolis, and you kind of question like, ooh, was it what was going on in New York that kind of held him back? And is that what we're going to see from Jackson Dart? Hopefully they'll be able to find a good head coach that could guide the young quarterback into a very successful career, because I think he has the potential to be a great quarterback. He definitely has all the tools with Malik Neighbors and Scadaboo going forward next season. So it's going to be interesting to see, because it's not like they don't have the players to be a winning football team. The defense is strong. They have, again, they they have the players. On paper, they seem like a great football team. It's just a question of putting it all together and finding some sort of leadership to put it all together for that team.
For sure.
Moving on, I watched the Seahawks dismantle the Arizona Cardinals this Sunday. Okay, I get it. It's the Cardinals, backup
Well,
quarterback.
apparently for the Cowboys, it is a tough test to beat
Right.
the Arizona
Okay.
Cardinals.
So, look, I wasn't going to say anything, but you brought it up. So
yeah,
I was expecting a little bit more. I had read before Sunday's game that Arizona, even with the backup quarterback, things seem to be looking up, and then they get just completely annihilated by the Seahawks. Now, the Seahawks are 7-2. They're on top of the NFC along with the Eagles. Sam Darnold is just balling. Where a lot of people were wondering if this was going to be a one and out for Sam Darnold, what we saw from him from the Vikings last year, and it seems like the Seahawks made the right decision in getting rid of Geno Smith and replacing it with Sam Darnold. They're 7-2 on top of the NFC. They're a great football team. JSN is completely dominating the wide receivers right now. He's unstoppable. I love to watch him play. I mean, everything seems to be firing for the Seahawks. Now, I'm going to ask you, being a little more of an expert on the subject, we see it from a lot of teams, even with the Colts this year. You know, they start off really hot, and right now, if I had to put money on the Colts, I'd be like, I'm kind of cooling a little bit. Like, it seems to be falling apart. Even though they won last weekend, it took a comeback win in the fourth quarter for them to come back, I believe, to win that game in was it in Germany?
Yep.
So I'm not 100% convinced that the Seahawks can hold it all together till the end of the season. And even if they do they have the team, in your opinion, do they have the team to make a good run in the playoffs?
It's interesting with the Seahawks because they've done a good job, like you mentioned with Geno Smith, but also from the receiver end. Like they used to have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett as their main options in Seattle. And they were willing to say, we're going to move forward from these guys because we have a guy in JSN that we want to utilize more in the offense. So I think they've done a good job of recognizing, okay, here are guys that we know are able to take the next step and could come in and do good work for us. Let's see what they could do, and let's move on from some of these older guys like Lockett. I know DK Metcalf's like 28, 29, but I think they saw the ceiling that was there for those guys. Like, okay, this is where we're at with these guys on the roster. What happens if we allow JSN to expand in the roster? What happens if we bring in a Sam Darnold? We think he's going to be an upgrade over Geno Smith. And that's a decision. Like, I know it's easy to say now because Geno Smith is not having a good year at Las Vegas. But before this season, there was a lot of talk. It's like, because he was pretty solid for the Seahawks, right?
He had a great season last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he went to a Pro Bowl last year. I know he was a Pro Bowler during his time with the Seahawks. So, like, he had some good seasons for Seattle. So there was the question of, like, are they getting off of a guy that has, that could still deliver for another guy who had one good year with the Minnesota Vikings, and it was a very good year other than the last two games for Sam Darnold. Are they taking a risk here? And so far, it's been paying off. I will say the game this past week for Darnold wasn't one of his better games, but still, throughout the year, like he has been really solid. And I think what goes back to with the Seahawks team is that their defense is really good. They've got a really good defense over there in Seattle, and that's kind of the mentality that they were able to put together. Mike McDonald is a former defensive coordinator, and that's what he brings to the table. And so they've got a good defense over there as well. So there's a lot to like with the Seattle team, and I think it's especially interesting considering the division that they're in. If I recall correctly, they're tied with the Rams for first in the NFC West. So it's a very competitive division. The 49ers are also lurking behind in there as well. So it's going to be a tough division for them to win. But right now, like, sometimes it's just about getting hot at the right time. And for the Seahawks, they have been looking really good. I don't know if I want to say Super Bowl quite yet because again, it's a 17 game season. Teams can get hot, teams can get very cold very quickly.
Right.
And now that we're post trade deadline, like it's going to be very interesting how everybody has kind of settled in with their new players on the roster. So yeah, I there's a lot to like with the Seahawks. I like that team and I like the way that it's kind of built there and how they're very forward thinking in terms of how they want their roster constructed and how they play their teams. But we'll see with the next couple of games here if I'm ready to jump on board and say, all right, this is a team that's got a chance to go to the Super Bowl and be a contender.
Yeah, I'm like you. To be honest, when I saw all of the changes they made in the offseason, bringing in Sam Darnold's new coach, all that thing, I knew they had a strong defense, but I thought it would take a year or two, maybe even three, to bring it all together and to make
Yep.
sure that Sam Darnold really settled in. But he settled in real fast, and I don't think it was a fluke what we saw from him last year, minus those last two games, maybe even the playoffs. But I think the Seahawks are a better team than the Vikings. I do know the Vikings have a lot of weapons, Jefferson, Addison, they have all these guys, but I mean, JSN is just sometimes you need everything to fall together. Everything you need you need a one of your receivers or your running back. You need one of your guys other than your quarterback to really have a great season. And even on games like you said this Sunday, where Sam Darnold wasn't that good, he was not good. He wasn't. He. I'm not saying he was bad, but compared to, if you look at his stat line, it was not pretty. And
Yeah.
yet they still won. I mean, they demolished Arizona. So I'm excited to see them going forward, to watch them going forward, and to see if they can keep it up to the end of the season all the way. I mean, if you look at the NFC right now, the Eagles, there's the Buccaneers, the Lions, but it's really between them and the Eagles right now. The Eagles
Yeah.
seem to be winning football games. It's not always pretty, like we saw like we saw this past week. I mean, it was horrible 0-0 at halftime for a Monday night game. I thought it was a typo when I watched the score. I wasn't watching the game, and then I watched I looked on my phone and it says halftime 0-0. I'm like, there's no way this is right. I'm like,
Right.
it's the Eagles. Come on. Like, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Eagles and Packers.
Yep.
Um, Packers are another team that seem to be falling apart right now. I heard a lot of talk about how the Jordan Love seems to be playing it safe, either him or the coaching on how they approach the game. So there's definitely an opportunity here for the Seahawks to maybe even take the reins here and finish on top of the NFC. So I'm like you,
Yep.
I'm not ready to crown them Super Bowl contenders, but I think they're right there. And if you look, here's another thing as well. So if you look at the remaining, where are they? Seahawks. Their remaining schedule. Um, so they have a great opportunity here. They're playing the Rams, the Titans, the Vikings, the Falcons, the Colts, the Rams, the Panthers, and the 49ers. So it's not an easy road to all the way to the end of the season. They've got the Vikings in there. The Rams are playing well. Next week they're playing the Rams. Obviously the Titans are shit. The Falcons can either lose by 40 or win by 40. I
Yeah.
still don't understand what's going on right now in Atlanta,
Weird
but
team.
so they're playing the Rams twice. So it's definitely not an easy schedule going forward for the Seahawks, but I'm excited to watch them and see how they overcome the strong teams going forward.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on to another strong team right now, and in the New England Patriots. Now, I have a few things to talk about the Patriots because my first instinct about the Patriots, and me and my son were looking at the schedule. Are the Patriots great right now? Their record seems to say yes. Drake May is playing like an MVP. I believe he's the odds-on favorite right now to win the MVP at plus 300, which is crazy considering his second sophomore year.
Yep.
Uh, he started the season. The first couple of games were a bit iffy for him, but he's put it together, and now they've won what, 7 games in a row now, I believe.
Yep. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 8-2 record. My first question was, I was going to ask you, are they great or is this the product of an easy schedule? And if I look at their remaining schedule going forward, I mean, yeah, it's let
A
me see.
lot of winnable football games there for New
Right.
England.
That's it, right? That's what I had this already and now I'm like scrambling right now to find all this information. But yeah, it seems to me like but I'm gonna ask you. So let's ask you, like, are the Patriots on a path to be great again, like we saw the dynasty of the Patriots when they had Tom Brady? Do you think they're on that road with Drake May? Is Drake May, I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. Let's not get carried away here. Tom
Right.
Brady is the GOAT, but they definitely have a great young quarterback with the potential. The coach seems to be really good and to have this um, relationship with his players that seems to be extremely rare in today's game. Do you think the Patriots are built to be great for years to come here?
It's a very interesting question. I think it all goes back to Drake May, as you mentioned, in terms of how he's kind of taken that next step. Because even with the schedule that they had, and the schedule they haven't exactly had a lot of heavyweights in that schedule, and they won't have a lot of heavyweights coming up either. They've got the Jets again, they've got the Dolphins coming up again, and uh, they did beat the Bills, but the Bills kind of seem to be in that. We'll obviously save it for the next topic, but
Right.
the Bills are kind of an interesting place right now. And then you look at the teams that they face outside of their division. They beat the Browns, they beat the Titans, they beat the Saints, they
The
they beat
Falcons.
the Panthers and the
Right.
Falcon. Like, these
That
aren't exactly the highest caliber of teams that they face off against. So
and their
I'm
next three
I
games are winnable. Jets, Bengals, Giants. Like,
yeah, very winnable football
they
games.
could easily
So
be 11-2, going into December, going into their week 14 bye here,
yep.
right?
Now there is one thing that I always stand by whenever you see stuff on the schedule, and it's a very simple phrase I always live by, is that good football teams beat bad football teams. And so
Right.
the Patriots is that they have been beating those bad football teams. I know
Right.
it seems simple, but the good football teams beat the bad football teams, and they've been able to consistently do that. Now I look at the losses that they had. The Steelers, I think, are
Steelers
they're
and
looking pretty
Raiders.
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I look at that and I'm iffy on the Patriots right now. I'm sure if you're a Patriots fan, you're already like getting that bandwagon ready to go. You're planning the parade and saying, oh, we're back to the 2010s with
Yeah.
Belichick and Brady, but this time it's Drake May and Mike Vrabel, right? But I wouldn't go so far just yet. I do think though that Drake May has been ascending, and even with some of these football teams, you could find some quarterbacks that just have a tough time transitioning into the NFL period because these are still NFL teams that he's taking on, right? And so
Right.
to be able to take that next step against these football teams and play at that sort of level does give you some encouragement if you're a Patriots fan that okay, he's getting confident, he's taking the next steps that's needed so that he can elevate himself. So I do think there is a foundation there for sure. And I think there's a lot to be excited about in New England. But I'm very hesitant to say I was kind of hesitant with the Colts too. Like I look at their schedule, I'm like, these aren't like exactly these world beater teams that they've
Right.
gone and beat. I remember a couple of years ago, and I'm going to invoke your Pittsburgh Steelers, unfortunately, here, Stefan. But I remember a couple of years ago when the Steelers went 14-2.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, the Steelers are 14-2. But then you look at all the teams that they face, and I think of the 14 wins, like 12 of them were against teams with a less than 500 record.
Yeah.
It's like, and everybody was just waiting for once they got in the playoffs. I think that was the game that the Browns like absolutely destroyed the Pittsburgh Steelers when Baker Mayfield was there.
Yep.
So, and then it's like, oh, maybe the Steelers team wasn't as good as we thought. That's where I'm kind of leaning with the Patriots, is that I still want to see more. Now, I think there's a great foundation there, and there's a lot to be excited about. But I'm hesitant to take them to the next level here quite yet.
There's a lot of strong teams in the AFC. You got the Colts, the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos are 8-2. That's
Yeah.
my biggest surprise this year. I think the Broncos. I thought Bo Nix was going to be real good. I liked the kid. I liked what I saw from him last year. I didn't expect him to be good this good. 8-2, they're really good. Steelers are still on top of their division, but I don't think that's going to last. I think the Ravens are on the ascend here, and I think they're going to overtake the Steelers. I'm a Steelers fan. Look, Steelers all the way right here. Steelers. My son bought me this for my birthday, but
nice.
I think they're going to fall for going forward. I know I'm supposed to be positive and everything, but man, Aaron Rodgers starting to show his age a little bit, I think, and he overthrew some passes this Saturday. I was cursing real hard at the TV after the first drive. I was like, God, I was not happy. But yeah, I mean, look, before I sent you the info on what I wanted to talk about tonight, I changed what I wrote for the Pats. And in the notes I sent you, I said, are the Pats on the path to greatness? But what I had before was, are the Pats good, or is this a weak schedule? And I think it's a fair question to ask, considering that in the past we've seen it where teams will go 14-2, whatever, they'll win 12, 13, 14 games. They'll go to the playoff. They'll end up playing a strong team, and then they shit the bed. And then you're like, ooh, like, weren't they good? And then you start paying attention to the schedule, and you go, they barely beat any teams that were above 500. So, again, just like the Seahawks, I'm not ready to put all my money and jump on the bandwagons for the Patriots. I am happy to see Drake May perform, especially in New England, where I know the pressure is on. I mean, you say New England Patriots, you immediately think GOAT, Tom Brady. Now you're Drake May, young quarterback. You're coming into here with Vrabel as your coach. Everybody's got all these high expectations. I'm excited to watch them. That's just what I like about this. It's another football team that I'm excited to watch and how they're going to perform going forward here. So I'm excited to watch, but yeah, just like you, I'm not ready to crown them this new dynasty going forward.
Right.
Transitioning to a conference rival in the Pats, in the Buffalo Bills. And I simply wrote here, Bills WTF with a bunch of exclamation mark. 30-13 loss to the Dolphins. Now, are the Dolphins all of a sudden good because they fired their general manager? Like, what's like, or are the Bills just kind of shot the bed this Sunday and went? Because this is a thing that I may, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we see this every year from Josh Allen. He's going to give you a couple of stinkers.
Yeah.
He's going to give you a 4 touchdown, 400-yard type of game with 100 yards rushing, or he's going to give you a stinker. And this Sunday, he gave you a hell of a stinker. Should we worry about what's going on in Buffalo right now, or is this a one and done and they're going to come back next week and be the dominant Buffalo Bills that we're expecting?
I'm a big believer in trends, and so sometimes you get your one-offs, right? Your outliers, where just for 1 week, for whatever reason, the stars align perfectly and the moon is in a perfect spot in the sky, and you have all these different elements that all come together to make it to where all of a sudden the Bills are not able to beat the Miami Dolphins on Sunday.
And I want to cut you off for a quick second. I did say Josh Allen stinked up the joint. I mean, the guy threw for 300 yards. So I might have been.
The big thing for me with Buffalo, the thing with Buffalo is, like, I think they're relying too much on Josh Allen. Like, you can't have Josh Allen just be the only thing carrying you going forward. I do think I don't want to say he needs help, because that would imply that he's struggling out there. But I think if they want to, like obviously if you're an elite quarterback, and that's what they're trying to show, is that we have this elite quarterback that we rely on, and he's somebody that could take over a football game. But you can't overuse it, right? Like, sometimes you got to have your other guys be able to make plays. You got to be able to have your I was going to say Dalvin Cook, but that's his brother. James Cook. Cook. You need to have him, step up. And
the running game has been we haven't seen much from the running games from the Bills this year, right? And I think that's where it's hurting them in games like this. You got Achane on the other side running for 174 yards, 225 total yards for his game.
Yep.
He's blowing up. And then on the other side, you have James Cook with 53 yards. And you're like, where's the running game? And you're like, what you said, just to add to your point, they're relying way too much on Josh Allen. Way too much. They don't have these big wide receivers, these big superstar wide receivers. So now you got to get the running game involved somehow. And I'm just not seeing it from the Bills.
So, yeah, no, I agree. It's the Bills are just like, they can be a frustrating football team, the Buffalo Bills. Like because they have all this potential. Their defense could be really strong, and their offense, obviously, like with Josh Allen in there, they could do a lot. And they've got a good tight end in Dalton Kincaid too that can get some damage done. So
absolutely.
So I believe I will just mark it as an outlier and just say, look, for whatever reason this week, the Bills weren't prepared. They're still 6-3 on the season. They're still going to make the playoffs. It's not like all of a sudden we're calling for their downfall here. And they beat the Chiefs the week before. So and that was the big monkey on their back, right? That they had to try and get off. So I'm not ready to count out the Bills just yet. Again, sometimes you know what the famous phrase for NFL football, any given Sunday, any given Sunday, a team can win. So that really, and sometimes when it's a divisional matchup too, when you have these guys face off so much, there is that extra motivation. And so, there's a lot of factors. Like the Bills could have come in and underestimated the Dolphins, right? And the Dolphins were able to, pounce back. And this was not the first time. Like they faced the Dolphins earlier this year, and the Dolphins brought it to the Bills in that Thursday night game, I think it was. So
that's right.
It wasn't totally unexpected. I think sometimes the matchups form where you have this dominant football team that just can't seem to figure out the other team, and they're a 3-7 team. It's just how it goes in football sometimes. So I'm just marking it as an outlier at this point.
We'll see. The coming Sunday, they're playing the Buccaneers, which is not an easy task. I know the Bucs have a lot of injuries, and Baker Mayfield's kind of left to his own demise. Like right now, he's the only guy trying to ball on this team. He's got no Mike Evans. Who's the other wide receiver? Forget.
Chris Godwin?
But both. He's out too. He was out last week.
Yep.
Bucky Irving not there. So you're like, they're facing the Bills are facing the Buccaneers, the Texans, and the Steelers in the next 3 weeks. So this is going to be important going into December. These are 3 big games that they're going to have to win. Maybe they could lose to the Steelers because definitely my Steelers could use it, but we'll see. But it's I'm just waiting for the Bills to just dominate all the way to the Super Bowl. Where every year it seems to be that, is this the year? Is this the year that they get over the Chiefs? They seem to dominate the Chiefs in regular season. The moment they get in the playoffs, we know what happens. The Chiefs become the Chiefs, the Mahomes and the Reeds and the Kelce.
Something happens and they're able to come away with a victory. Even when Allen is throwing 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes of a football game, somehow the Chiefs win. Right? That's just how it is with Kansas City with Buffalo.
We're going to need to see more from Josh and the Bills. Like I said, the running game, everything has to come together for the Bills if they're going to have some success going forward here. I'm looking forward for the rest of the season where we're in week, what week are we in now? Week 11
10
already.
or 11?
We're week 11, going into week 11. There are a lot of good matchups. I'm looking forward to a lot of matchups. I'm looking forward to the Jets, Patriots. Just because it's a, division rivals. I'm looking forward for that match. Bengals and Steelers, Unk Bowl number 2, as it's called, between Rodgers and
I've heard it called the Icy Hot Bowl as well. That's really good.
There's a lot of good games. Bears, Vikings, Packers, Giants, Texans. Texans have a losing record right now, but I'm still a believer of the Texans. I think C.J. Stroud's a good quarterback, so I'm looking forward. I really hope your Cowboys can beat the Raiders on Monday.
I hope so too. Otherwise, I might be showing up on the show bald for pulling my hair out.
I won't blame you. Indiana's got a bye week. I think it's deserved. I think you saw a lot of fatigue from that team, especially Daniel Jones a couple weeks ago giving up 5 turnovers to the Steelers, which was the first of like, that's the chink in the armor. It was also the first really good defensive game by the Steelers all year. They've been up and
Yep.
down, so we didn't see it from them this week. So hopefully they can revamp. But I'm looking forward to the rest of the year and this week, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of talks about when it comes to the NFL going forward. Let's move on here and let's talk a little bit of NHL. There's a lot of things going on in NHL. It's still early in the season, so I don't want to talk about teams. I want to talk about Macklin Celebrini. He is lighting it up right now, and I believe he is he's second in points with 26 points right now. He's in his second year. So I'm going to ask you the question. I'm going to finish this sentence for me. Macklin Celebrini has the potential comparison to, who do you think he compares to? Because I heard some people talk about who they think he compares to, and I'm like, ooh, to be honest, I don't watch that much NHL, and I definitely don't watch a lot of West Coast hockey. He's all the way in San Jose, where we don't really see any of their games. So tell me, how good is this kid, Macklin Celebrini?
He's really good. He's
Yeah,
really good, especially for his
that's
age,
what I hear.
19. The Sharks have got a real good player there. The fact that they were able to get him to win the lottery and all that, and get him last year, and he had a really good season last year
Yeah,
as
Rookie
well.
of the Year, no?
So he was always somebody to kind of keep an eye on, to take that next step. I've heard a lot of those comparables too. He's got some good offensive touch, but he's a very complete player as well. And when I think of complete
Yeah.
players and Celebrini, I think he has the potential, and he has the potential for me. Like, he reminds me a lot of Jonathan Toews in certain ways, from the Chicago Blackhawks, now with the Winnipeg Jets. Just because Toews was just a good complete player, and he could like take over a hockey game when need be. And when you have that coming from your center as well, like Jonathan Toews was
Right.
a top line center for so many years.
Right.
With Macklin Celebrini being able to do that from the center position, which can be really tough in the NHL, because wingers, wingers is a little bit easier than centers. Centers, you got to have a little bit more playmaking ability. But yeah, there's been a lot of comps, and I'm sure the one that you see a lot of is Sidney Crosby, because of
Yeah,
the
that's the
high
one I heard.
potential. Yep. So I see the Sidney Crosby comps, but I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, he reminds me of Sidney Crosby,
Right.
the one everybody knows as a center. But he
Right.
does kind of remind me a little bit of Jonathan Toews. There's a little bit of Jonathan Toews there. And it's obviously like he's still very young, still plenty of time left in terms of his development and where he could go. But that Sharks team is looking really good this season.
Really
like
good.
especially for where they were at last year, they were just kind of this bottom of the basement team last year, but
They were
kind of a
worst
fun
team,
team
no?
to watch. Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
They were not
They were
good at
not
all.
a good team last year, but they were one of those teams that's like, they're not good, but it's filled with young guys brimming with potential. And you're like, oh, there's at least some fun elements to this Sharks squad once they continue to develop and get some players going. But
Yeah.
Celebrini is taking that next step this year. So there's a lot to like when it comes to Macklin Celebrini and what he's able to do. Like you mentioned there, he's second in points already this season. And to be able to
Right.
do that, like, I think he's now, Bedard is finally getting to that point in his career where you're starting to really see him step up his game. But there was a time with
Right.
Connor Bedard, he was very good, especially for his age. But you're like, oh, like with all the comps that were coming out for Connor Bedard when he was getting drafted, it's like, oh, he should be a little bit more of, like, he should be at a higher level than where he's at. But now he's really starting to figure it out. And I think Chicago has built a better hockey team around him this year.
Right.
But Celebrini, yeah, there's a lot to like. And I think if you're a Sharks fan, you go back to the 2010s and you had all that heartbreak in the Western Conference Finals. It seemed like every year they would be in the Western Conference Finals, never seemed to make the Stanley Cup. They had all those great players on those teams, like Jumbo Joe Thornton, who just got inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame. And here's a fun little note. So Patrick Marleau, of course, is another player that played for the San Jose Sharks. His son actually plays for the Wellington Dukes over here. And Patrick Marleau actually recently visited a Wellington Dukes game, so which I didn't know he was there for. So that was cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
Did you meet him?
So I didn't get a chance to meet. I didn't even realize he was there. I just saw like a post like, "Oh, we're welcome Patrick Marleau to see his son Landon." I've called Landon's hockey games, but I've never met Patrick Marleau. So, yeah, no, this you look at those Sharks teams of the past, and then they went through that down period. They're rebuilding clearly. I think there's a lot of hope there in San Jose to kind of get back to a standard that they had in the 2010s.
Do you know who I think about when I think San Jose Sharks? I think Pat Falloon.
Ooh, there's a name. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
You want to know why I had Pat Falloon? Because back in the night when I was a teen, when 12, 13, I used to collect hockey cards, and I had bought this pack of, I forget what the brand was, but it was all the rookies that had been drafted that year. And Pat Falloon, if I'm not mistaken, was the number 1 draft pick. Or he's top 3. He was definitely top 3, I think, that year.
Yep.
And I remember having this card where he was dressed in a tuxedo with skates on. That was all the rookies had all been dressed in tuxedos, and they had all taken these pictures for the cards. Anyway, I don't know why I thought Pat Falloon, San Jose Shark. I know the Marlows and the Thornton and all these guys, but for me, San
Joe
Jose Shark.
Yeah. Brent Burns.
Yeah. So, I mean, they had good teams. And I remember, like you said, they used to be completely strong with Burns and all these guys. And they used to make it all the time, but they would never get to the cup final. It was always like, they would always almost get there, and they never were able to bust through. So I'm glad to see that. I like their jerseys. I like the color. I like the whites and the greens and all that stuff. I like the logo as well. Like, I'm excited. I'm also excited for the Anaheim Ducks. They're actually doing good this year. So I saw their records. Like, they came to the league together, if I'm not mistaken, right? Sharks and Ducks, they were expansion teams in the same season.
Yeah.
Right. So. And so
I think the Sens were in there as well.
Yes.
I don't know if they were exact same time, but they were definitely around that same time period.
It was around the same. I think it was the same year. It was 2 or 3 teams all in the same year, I think.
Right. Yeah. I gotta pull that up. I know it was 1992 for the Ottawa Senators.
That's right.
Or sorry, 1990. They began playing in 1992, but they won the bid in 1990. So
right. But that's the year. That's the year the Sharks came in, 92.
Okay, there you go. So they were
Ducks,
part of that.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm still amazed that the Ottawa group there, led by Bruce Firestone, was able to win that bid, because I'm so happy that they were able to win that bid. But this isn't a Ottawa Sens look back episode. This is a sports podcast.
91, 92. Yeah, the Sharks. Founded in 91, so they were in 91. So the Sens were the following year.
Okay.
I think so. Because 92 you said, right?
92 when they started play, yes.
Right.
They won the bid. They won the bid to have the expansion franchise in 1990.
Right.
But they actually had their first season in 92, and they played at the old Civic Center that's at Lansdowne to start off their first couple of years before eventually moving to the Corral Center, I still call it, but it's now Scotiabank Place and then Canadian Tire Center. So
yeah. Good times, good times. Let's move on to some CFL talk. We got the 112th Grey Cup coming up this Sunday, a matchup between the Montreal Alouettes and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I actually watched some CFL. All right. So be proud of me. I got home on Saturday, went to dinner at my in-laws like we do every Saturday. And I got home and I turned on the TV, and I caught the end of the game between the BC Lions and the Roughriders. And holy shit, what a game.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the Lions the momentum seemed to be, when I tuned in, the momentum seemed to be on the Lions side. We're in the fourth quarter. They just scored. They had a drive. They scored, take the lead. Then the Roughriders come back and they score, and then it was a crazy game. Crazy ending to the game. Roughriders ended up winning 24-21. And what about the Alouettes? I mean, they win on a last-second field goal, 16-16. Kick the field goal. Montreal wins it 19-16. And what seemed, I didn't watch the game, it seems to be more of a defensive matchup. But we have a great Grey Cup going forward. Saskatchewan and and the Alouettes. in Winnipeg this Sunday. Again, I watched some CFL for about 30 minutes on Saturday. That's all the
Mhm.
CFL I've watched this season. So I'm actually probably going to be watching the Grey Cup on Sunday if
There
I
you
can
go.
remember right. So just so we can have something so
Yes.
we can talk about it coming up next week. But I want to get your thoughts because you definitely have more experience in the CFL and watching the CFL here for you. So I want to hear your thoughts on the game, on the Grey Cup. I also have a question for you. What is
Sure.
this rule? I saw a guy punt the ball. The ball landed in front of the guy that was supposed to catch it, and it was rule no yards. And I was
Ah,
like,
yes, the no yards rule.
what is this?
So the no yards rule in the CFL is that you have to give at least 5 yards after so like when the guy punts it and it goes to the guy that's going to receive it, the punt returner or the kick returner, you have to give 5 yards for the punt returner. Otherwise, it's a penalty. Because if you're too close, like if you stand, like let's say my
Ah,
hand, and if
so
you
you
stand
can't
so
do like
close,
the
that's no
NFL
yards.
where they stand around while the guy's still catching it.
Nope, nope.
Okay,
You
so
have
you
to
got
give
to
him
give
five
5 yards.
yards.
Okay,
Yeah,
because I
and
couldn't
so that's
figure it
where the
out.
no
I'm
yards
like,
penalty
what do
is.
you mean no yards? He just kicked that shit for like 30 yards. I'm like that. I saw the ball go forward. Like it's not
Yeah, no, nothing to do with the punter or the
right.
kicker. It's all about the kickoff return.
Okay,
So it's one of the things that makes the CFL game unique. By the
right.
way, folks, this was not me that put the CFL talk on the rundown sheet. I know people will think, "Oh, here's
That's me.
Zach.
No,
He's
no, no.
trying to like
Listen,
he's trying to get a CFL talking." No, Stefan put it on the rundown, and
I
I
did.
was like, "All right, let's talk some CFL here. Let's do it.
I knew
I'm
you'd be
in."
excited to talk about it, number one.
Yeah,
And I wanted to
yeah,
tell you that I actually watched some fucking CFL this weekend. So I'm excited
yeah.
too. So tell me
It's
about
good
this.
football.
It is
I
good
try to
football.
tell people
Yeah,
this. It's
it is
good
good
football.
football.
Like this idea that it's just this like that it's this lesser game is
N-
just a bunch of crap in my
No,
mind. And again,
absolutely. It's
I,
exciting. And I watched it and I don't know any of the players, which makes it less interesting for me. But even with that, I was still able to enjoy that end of that game because I knew it mattered, right? I'm not
yep,
saying I'm going to start watching some regular season games between the Hamilton Tiger Cats and
yeah,
the Edmonton Elks or whatever they're called now.
right,
But I'll definitely start watching some playoff games. So I have to start somewhere.
yeah.
So
There's
tell me,
some good play. There were some good playoff CFL playoff games in the past, and I think the conference finals games also were just proof of that with the
absolutely
East and West
right.
final. I like so I will say I wasn't able to catch them because they were both on Saturday, and I was down for Belleville Sens stuff on Saturday, so I wasn't able to catch the games live. But I saw like a bunch of the highlights, and it's like, it was quite the interesting game. Like as you mentioned, like going down on the wire in that Alouettes Ticats game, and
Yeah.
also going down the wire in the Rough Riders BC Lions
Yeah, it
game.
was
And
insane.
That BC Lions game is interesting because that is supposed to be their quarterback there, Nathan Rourke, is like
Mm-hmm.
an MOP guy, most outstanding player nominee. So this was going to be his chance to like get to the Grey Cup and win a Grey Cup for the BC Lions. And so but the Rough Riders able to get in for the first time since 2013. And
Yeah.
that was a football program like Saskatchewan. You want to talk about the team that loves their football. Saskatchewan is all about the Rough
Oh, you saw it
Riders.
from the
Like,
fans. The fans were
oh yeah,
completely in on it. Everything was green. Everybody was wearing a green jersey or a green shirt. Like the
yep,
fans were fucking loud and it was amazing. That's what kept me into watching it, not turning the channel. So
yeah.
it
Like
was quite exciting.
a lot of those teams, like Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, as well as a really diehard fan base. There's the Hamilton Tiger Cats have a real diehard
Yeah.
fan base over there as well. When Ottawa is really really good, they have a pretty strong fan base too. Now they've had some down years over the last little bit. Hopefully, this
Right.
guy Ryan Dinwiddie that they brought in as their new head coach and GM, who's coming from the Argonauts, will be good. But and he won two Grey Cups with the Argos over the last couple of years, so he's coming in with a lot of prestige. But in terms of this Grey Cup, there's a lot to be excited about. A lot of interesting ways it could go. Obviously, with the Rough Riders, this is a chance for them to win their first Grey Cup in quite a long time. The Alouettes have been in the Grey Cup in the last couple of years. I believe they've won one as well.
Yeah, they won 2 years
In the
ago.
last couple. Yep, exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
They have some good football teams, and it's very interesting with the Alouettes because their quarterback Davis Alexander got hurt, and he's been somebody he's
Right.
always seems to be on and off the injured list, Davis Alexander. But when he's healthy, he's very good for this Alouette
I
squad.
hear he's
And
been
it's just,
practicing this week, so
yep.
so
So that's something to keep an eye on for sure. And we'll see where it goes. He has that hamstring injury that he's working through. And here's something you'll like, Stefan. The running back for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, AJ Ouellette. Since you are a former pro wrestler, he has made appearances for some local indies when he was playing for the Toronto Argonauts, and actually, I think wrestled a match too.
Yeah, I
Yeah, yeah.
remember that. That seems to
Yes.
ring a bell. What's his name?
AJ Ouellette. He has like a lawn. He had a lawn mullet and the shaved sides, and very big into the professional wrestling side of things. So,
Love it. I love it.
So there's a lot to like when it comes to this, and I think also too having the Grey Cup in Winnipeg as well. It was just announced that the Grey Cup is sold out. That's going to be a full building.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, so there's a lot to be excited for. So I always encourage people, go check out those Grey Cups or those CFL playoff games. Like, if you're somebody that's like, the regular season, I don't know, I'm not going to really watch, that's fine. But you got to watch some of these CFL playoff games because the intensity ramps up. And there have been some tremendous football games. Like, I watch the Grey Cup each and every year, and there has been a lot of great Grey Cup games. And so I always encourage people to go watch the Grey Cup. So
sold.
Again,
I'm watching.
I didn't put this on the rundown sheet.
Sold.
I didn't put this on the rundown sheet. This is all Stefan. You don't have to blame me for the CFL talk.
I'm a closeted CFL fan.
There you go. I expect a week by week review next in that.
Okay, don't push
it,
bro.
Season starts.
Don't push it. All right, don't push it.
I want a deep analysis of the Toronto Argonauts.
I'm still in the closet. I'm not out yet. I'm gonna keep it there. Tell me, who's gonna win?
Oh man, it's tough. Right now, the favorite is Saskatchewan, and I think it's just based off of the injury to Davis Alexander. If Davis Alexander is healthy, that's going to make for a very close very close matchup. Saskatchewan was the better regular season team during the year, but Montreal has been there before. And
Montreal went through like a 5-game skid in the middle of the season where they lost 5 in a row. Because they were dominating early on, I remember, because I listened to TSN 690 and I knew they were talking about them and a lot, and they were dominating early in the season, and then after that they went on a 5-game losing streak, and it kind of like, but they kind of picked it up at the end of the season, and it's the CFL, right? So a lot of teams still make the playoff, even though you have a losing record or not, whatever it is. It definitely seems like the Rough Riders had the best regular season.
Yeah, so I'm going to say if Davis Alexander is healthy, I'm going to say Montreal wins. But if Davis Alexander isn't set to go and it's looking tough for him to get back in there, that's a really good Saskatchewan Roughriders team that's there. And that will be a team that's ready, that will be built and ready to go. I know it's been a while since they've been to a Grey Cup, but that will be a motivated team that wants to win in front of a passionate fan base for Saskatchewan.
Right.
And to be able to win it in Winnipeg as well, I think was also something to kind of that will also be kind of a tip of the cap for them. So I'm going to pick the Saskatchewan Roughriders to win their first Grey Cup in nearly 10 years, over 10 years, I should say. And so that's who I'm going to pick. But I think it's going to be a close matchup again, and I think it'll be a real fun matchup. And I'm looking forward to the Grey Cup. Those Grey Cups are always a lot of fun, and again, sold out crowd, so it's going to be loud, and people will be rocking in Winnipeg. And and I will say, in terms of the teams, like that's really kind of the detriment of the CFL is that they only have 9 teams in this league. If they're able to, they have to find a way to expand. They try to go into the Maritimes,
I remember,
and try to do the Atlantic Schooners, but then that thing completely fell apart.
Yeah,
and so now the questions are, do they go to Quebec City? Because they need to find another team in the East to kind of round things out,
right?
And so do they go to Quebec City? Do they try another team in Southern Ontario? Trying to find these different areas where they could put a football team. But there's a lot to be excited about with the Grey Cup this year.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to tune in, and so we're going to talk about it next week in the next episode of Blue Collar Sport. Looking forward to it. You sold me on the CFL. Good job.
There you go. I credit my professional wrestling background on selling, and
That's right.
try to get things over. So
Let's get it. Yeah. So yeah, it worked. It worked. Sorry, I'm choking on my own spit here.
It's all good.
I'm so excited about the Grey Cup. I'm choking over here.
You're fired up.
Before we move on to our last topic, John Cena winning the Intercontinental Championship, I want to take a few seconds, to thank everybody that's following along, that subscribe to the channel SVG TV on YouTube, that subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget, if you haven't done so yet, go ahead, subscribe. Blue Collar Sports is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. On YouTube, it's under the channel SVG TV. Check it out now, subscribe so you don't forget any or don't miss any future episodes of Blue Collar Sports. John Cena. Now, he's got 2 appearances left. This was, I think, this past Monday, that was 3. I believe he has 2 left, which is, I'm assuming, Survivor Series, and I'm assuming the December 13 in Washington, D.C. We've spoken about who we thought the last opponent was going to be. We both agreed that we thought it was going to be Gunther as last opponent. I did not expect him to win the Intercontinental Championship this past Monday. I did see some rumbling about it online early in the day. I remember coming back from the gym telling my son, yeah, I think John Cena is going to win the Intercontinental Championship tonight. And boom, I get home. About 8:30, I'm like, oh shit, I forgot. Let's tune in. I turn on Netflix, and it by default it goes on live. It doesn't start from the beginning. I click. It's like 8:30. Netflix starts, Raw starts, and it's John Cena in the corner holding the IC belt, and I'm like, well, that's nice. That's spoiled. But I was right. But also the internet was right. You can't hide anything these days. Apparently, everything's out in the
internet's
open.
got the scoops.
I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on a few things here. Now, on number one, was this the right call? Dominic Mysterio is one of the hottest heel going right now in WWE, and I like the kid, considering where he came from when he started as a tag team with his father. The guy can get some major heat, and he's definitely getting a big push. He's definitely getting a lot of TV time, and I like it. I think it helps that he's also the AAA, I think, Grand Champion, I think it's called.
Mega Champion.
I
Yes.
apologize. I apologize, Dominic. Dominic, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. It's the Mega Campeon, right? That's how he says it.
Who is Dominic Mysterio cheering for the Grey Cup? That's why he's tuning in, right?
I'm going to send him a message after, see if he answers. Who do you think is going to win the Grey Cup, Dominic Mysterio?
He
Dirty
seems like
Dom.
a Rough Rider sort of guy.
yeah. He's definitely not an Alouettes guy.
No.
So here's my interesting question. Does him winning the Intercontinental Championship change your pick on who's going to be his last opponent? Because it does for me a little bit. I think it opens the door for a lot. They're already starting to pick. They've picked my curiosity with 2 wrestlers, and I'll tell you after I hear from you. Maybe you'll name them. You'll name them as well. Do you still think Gunther is going to be his last opponent? And if so, does John Cena keep the Intercontinental Championship till December 13th, or do you think he drops it at Survivor Series?
So it does change my pick. I'm going to change my pick off of Gunther. I still think he's a favorite to go and potentially win it, but he's not going to be my pick. I really like the decision to have the Intercontinental belt on Cena, because now there's a different element of stakes to it. Because I'm not anti-tournaments in pro wrestling, but I understood the critique for some when this tournament was announced for John Cena that, this is kind of a lazy way to get to the final match of John Cena's career.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but I do like me some tournaments, because you can really the thing with tournaments and why you see them so much is that it can really help set out your creative for later on down the line where you
Yeah.
could set up storylines through the
I
tournament.
think we saw
And
that with
so,
King of the Ring this year and the past 2
yep,
years where they really did a good job not have us guess who's gonna win because there was something at the end like, ooh, they're getting a title shot and they
right.
like this actually means something, and then you're like, oh, maybe him, and then it builds these different stories. I completely agree. Sorry, keep going.
Right. No, no, you're helping support my
Yeah,
point, so I will gladly take it. So yeah, it helps like go to different directions. I can understand some of the critiques because this is a big match to do with Cena. But after everything I saw with Dominic Mysterio and whatnot, and John Cena beating Dominic Mysterio for the title, I think there's a launching off point that they could go to where I didn't think of him as a good candidate before, but it makes a lot of sense for him to be the
okay, I'm gonna
final
write it
opponent for
down.
John Cena.
I'm gonna write it down because I think we're gonna go in the
We have
same
the same
direction.
guy.
Maybe I'm
Okay,
gonna write it down because I don't want to say like, oh, you just saying that, but okay,
you're
go.
right. Okay, I'm gonna say Rey Mysterio as the final opponent for John Cena.
Oh, I did
Yeah.
not. That's not who I wrote down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. So I was saying Rey Mysterio, and I think I'm thinking Rey because the background, a lot of this run for John
Mm,
Cena, there's a lot of nostalgia behind it. Going and reigniting the feud with CM Punk, reigniting the feud with Randy Orton, you know, uh, reigniting the feud with Brock Lesnar. That's really been the overall theme of this run. And John Cena and Rey Mysterio, those are two guys of that late 2000s, early 2010s that kind of define an era for a lot of people when they watch WWE. And I know it would be
interesting.
babyface, and whatnot,
Right,
but I think it would make sense as a final match. And so that's who I would pick that's who I think it's going to be. It's funny I had a pretty extensive chat about this on This Is Wrestling as well about like potential players. If I were booking, if they gave me the pencil and said, Zach, we need you to write out the rest of this tournament and we need you to set up like for what's going to happen in the tournament afterwards, I'd just be having Braun Breaker running through everybody and beating John Cena for the Intercontinental Championship and
hmm
setting up that next, with him to be that guy after he beats Cena. That's what I would do personally. I'm very high on Braun Breaker. I've
yeah,
heard it said it on the show. I was banging the desk and saying, you got to push a guy and push Braun Breaker, right? So I'm still very much of that mindset. But I look at the way that this whole storyline's been played out. And I think Rey Mysterio is a potential. Now, it depends on if he's going to be announced for this tournament altogether.
right,
If he's not, then obviously my pick will fall through. Another name I will throw out to you, maybe this is the name that you threw out there. Uh, who knows? But the name that was thrown out there by my co-host Lever Sage that he thinks could potentially be Cena's final match is Dominic Mysterio again. And doing a John Cena versus Dominic Mysterio match
right.
at the Saturday night's main event, and you have Dom cheating his way to get the victory or whatever. I don't see that as much. I think it'd just be the raw tone to go with for
Right.
the final match of John Cena's
Yeah, I don't.
career. And he's so I'm not as high up on Dom as others are. I still think they very much spoke and mirrors his matches a lot. And a
Yes, I
lot of the
agree with
heat,
that. Yeah, that's
yeah, like
somewhat true.
there's
Yes.
still a lot of smoke and mirrors when you see his pro wrestling
hmm
matches. Like, what's your favorite match of Dom Mysterio's
Yeah,
Intercontinental title reign?
yeah. I couldn't
It's
tell
like
you. Right,
it's tough, right? I get it. Like he gets a lot of heat, and I
right.
understand why he's featured. And I will say kudos to him for being able to figure out a different path to, instead of being, the son of Rey Mysterio and being like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm
that's
Dirty
what I
Dom.
love
I'm
about
I'm totally
him.
different.
That's what I
Yeah,
love about him.
I like that he's been able to establish himself as something different.
hmm
I find the heat that he was able to get a little bit dubious because I felt like they, punched in some booze,
Yeah,
like they put it like did some crowd sweetening on the booze, but
they
that's
definitely
like a
do
different
that.
thing for another day.
Right.
But all that to say, like I've heard the Dom Mysterio theory, so but it would go to a Dom Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio match later on for that Intercontinental belt so that you can reignite that feud. So I could also see that happening, but with Rey Mysterio as the Intercontinental Champion,
Right.
and then doing it with Dom Mysterio, and you can get that done. So those are the names that we said. Gunter has been announced for this tournament. He's facing off against Javon Evans, which I think is a very interesting match. That's a match I did not expect, and now I'm very interested to see how that goes, because those are two totally different wrestlers, but they're two very good wrestlers too.
Absolutely.
And I'm very excited to see how they are able to pull that off, because I hope that they look at Javon Evans and see a guy that's like, oh, we might not have him win now, but like he could be a guy that we can keep an eye on, circled for the future.
Right.
But he's really good now. Like, why not push him now? I say, right. But again, I'm looking in the mindset of WWE. So I know this is a little long-winded, but all that to say, Rey Mysterio is who I'm thinking it's going to be.
Interesting. Here's my thoughts on all this. So I'm going to give you two roads here. So okay.
Cody Rhodes?
I had already switched my pick from Gunther before he won the Intercontinental Championship. And I thought that it would be interesting to have Rusev be his last match because of the past with John Cena. I think there's a simple storyline there. You took the United States Championship from me in WrestleMania. I'm going to avenge. I mean, he even said it in the promo he cut last week. So there's a story that's being built there. But then he won the Intercontinental Championship, and then I switched my pick again. And here's who I think has the potential of being John Cena's last opponent. And it's Sheamus.
Okay.
Why I say Sheamus is because I think it'll be Sheamus versus Gunther in the semifinals to decide who goes. And I think he finally beats Gunther. And he goes on and he beats John Cena to become the Intercontinental Championship champion for the first time. Because we all know a few months ago or last year where he failed twice when Gunther was champion. He just couldn't get that Intercontinental Championship. I believe it's the only championship he hasn't won in WWE. So that would make him a Grand Slam champion, just like it made John Cena a Grand Slam champion by winning this past Monday. Only because John Cena won the Intercontinental Championship, I thought that it would be interesting if they went that direction with Sheamus. Simply because I think one of the reasons also is because I don't think there's it's a win-win. Yes, it's two quote unquote faces, but Sheamus is putting on some bangers after bangers after bangers. Every time he fucking wrestles, I'm just like, I feel the thumps, I feel the chops, I feel it. I just love, because I'd written him off. When he came back after his injury, I thought he looked real bad. And he looked out of shape. He looked like he couldn't move. And I was like, he should not be wrestling right now. His neck is fucked. There's something wrong. Right. But he sold me. He kept banging and they kept putting him in these hard matches. And I'm like, that's the type of wrestling I like. I like when it hurts. And I know if you're in a match with Sheamus, it hurts. I've been in matches like that, and I could tell you, I'm still feeling it now that I'm retired. It's the reason why I'm retired. It's because I wrestled like that. I just think it'd be just altogether a good thing. I think it'd be good for John Cena to lose to Sheamus. There's no shame in that. And to be able to crown him Intercontinental Champion. Then you can have him lose to Gunther the next. I don't really care. But I think that would be a good feeling at the end. But I'm with you. If Braun Breaker is in this tournament and he's not going to win, hopefully it's to build something against someone. You understand what I'm saying? So, because I agree that they need to put the rocket on Braun Breaker and just light it and have fun. Because I think he's the future. I think if they wait too long to pull the trigger, they're going to regret it. So that's the only thing. But yeah, if I had to pick right now, it's Sheamus. I would switch it to Sheamus.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I was not thinking Sheamus, but I like Sheamus. Like to me, he will forever be an underappreciated wrestler in history. Yeah. Like I love his wrestling style. like what you mentioned, that brawling, hard hitting style. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that's different in WWE too, especially now.
Right.
And so I'd love that pick in terms of just a pure wrestling match, and obviously the story that would be built in there of like him trying to get his Intercontinental Championship, the one title that's been missing him, for him to be a Grand Slam champion as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would be in on that too. So I like that pick.
Um, I'm going to give you something that I believe is going to happen. I don't know if you want to call this a hot take or
Okay.
a prediction at War Games.
As the chef of hot takes earlier on, I will be able to determine it Gordon Ramsay style.
We are going to end the show on this. Here's what I think is
Okay.
going to happen at War Games. I think Jey Uso turns and joins the Vision.
Jey Uso as a heel and joining the Vision. Okay. I want to hear your thought process on it. Because I'm not totally denying it, but I want to see the vision for if you catch my drift.
So I've been seeing a different side of Jey Uso, and look, his in-ring is not the best, and I think there's a lot of factors there. If you read into a lot of the things they've said about him, not having the cardio to be able to go in a 20+ minute match and stay relevant for the whole 20. He'll give you a 20-minute match, but like we saw it against CM Punk. There's a few times he kind of faltered, and it was not pretty. But that aside, you can hide that depending on who you're in the ring with. I just think they've kind of been teasing us with either him or the other guy going, his brother, Jimmy, going heel. And I'm like, number one, when I saw it, I was like, oh, we're not going to have that feud again. It was a horrible match at WrestleMania. Can we just go move past it? And then I go, okay, well, maybe they'll do the same thing, but Jay will be the heel and Jimmy will be the face. But then I was like, it's still going to fall flat. It's still going to do that. And then in the last few weeks, I see they kind of removed Jimmy out of the equation. And now Jey Uso's added to the War Games. And now he's back to being friends with Cody Rhodes. But there's something about his body language in the last few weeks where I'm like, there's something here. It's either they're doing this on purpose, but like you got to show that you're not completely like this rah-rah baby face like you used to be. So I think there's something there. And then when I saw on Monday, for some reason, when I saw Logan Paul and the Vision, and immediately when I saw him come in and for the save for Cody Rhodes, and who else was with him? CM Punk. Yep. I was just like, there's something not adding up here. And I immediately, the thought that came to my head was like, they're probably going to have Roman Reigns added to War Games. So it's probably going to be CM Punk, Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and I guess Jimmy. I
potentially,
right, or whoever, right? LA Knight.
Yeah,
he's kind of cooling down as well, right?
Yep,
6'7".
Let me tell you, as an Ottawa hockey fan, cheering for the Ottawa 67s right now is real tough. You know, it's real tough.
I think because now what I also clipped me off, I'm like, okay, are they just gonna start adding people to the Vision? Like, just start adding fucking, let's NWO the shit out of this and start adding like everybody that wants to be a heel. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
And
let's call it Scott Norton. What's he doing nowadays?
But my real reason for this is that they need to do something to kind of revive Jey Uso as someone that could sell tickets. Yep. He's had his run as a babyface. He's sold all the merch. You need something new if you're going to keep him relevant. And I just don't think they're ready to start kind of pushing him down to being a mid-carder again. So the only way you're going to keep him relevant at this point is if you completely turn him heel and you make him join the Vision. The Vision seems to be the where you go to be a heel. And if anybody can save him, maybe it's Paul Heyman. So that's kind of my thinking behind it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
As just something I saw, my instinct told me, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if they turn him heel here, especially at War Games. It'd be a perfect opportunity. Have yourself a great match, and then at the end, completely turn. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I don't know.
Yep.
That's what I
could
my
see.
thought.
I can see that idea. I do think they're eventually going to do a Jey Uso heel turn because I think there's only so much juice left in this
Right.
run for Jey Uso. I will say, in terms of the War Games match, I would be shocked if Brock Lesnar isn't in the match in some way, shape, or form, whether it be on the team with
Right.
Logan Paul and the Vision. So I feel like Brock is going to find a way to get in there. Whoever that fifth person is will be kind of up for debate.
Right,
But
right.
I don't know, just like you obviously saw Brock return against Cena. And then they released that video for the WrestleMania 42 promotion, and Brock's in that as well. Very, very weird face in that promo video, by the way. I'm like, that doesn't seem like Brock's face at all.
Yeah. Look puffy.
Very
It looked like he had been out
Yeah.
drinking all night.
Yeah.
It was weird.
But not the best look for Brock. Now, of course, when he gets in there, it's like all of a sudden he's just like ripped to the gills. You know, eating his spinach, right? And he's just eating the spinach and maintaining a healthy diet. And yes, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and all that. So, so but in the case of Brock, like, he's somebody that
I forgot about Brock.
He will be involved in this War Games, and I think there is an interesting dynamic in terms of like Brock being in War Games. So
it's definitely going to be a war game if Brock Lesnar's in there. Yeah. It's going to be.
I could already see the spot right now. He's got somebody up on his shoulders. He's going to F5 the guy from one ring to the other. Like, I can already see the spot.
It's going to be a hell of a match. I always enjoyed those types of matches because they're all. It gets a little spotty once in a while where I'm like, okay, it's enough. Hopefully Bronson Reed doesn't break his ankles again. He'll be staying away from jumping from the top of the cage. But I could see it. I could definitely see Brock Lesnar, but my prediction is Jey Uso turns heel and joins division.
There you go.
And that's it. Let's end it on that, Zach. Again, Zach, thank you for spending this birthday of yours talking sports with me. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your takes on sports, and being able to sit down and talk sports with you is always a pleasure. Again, people, thank you for your support. If you haven't done so, go and subscribe so you don't miss another episode of Blue Collar Sports. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week for another episode of Blue Collar Sports.